Welcome back to the McAfee podcast. My name is Dr. Yamie Barnett, and we're getting ready to do something a little different than what you've been seeing recently as you've been following us on this journey. We've been having conversations with scholars and theologians and artists in their own right, and that doesn't change. But this time, we're going to get a little deeper, if you will. Joining me today, I have the honor, and I'm going to gas her up because it's my right. Because this woman saved my life and my project. And she's the only reason that I put a DR in front of my name today. But sitting to my right is the illustrious Reverend Dr. Angela N., as in Nicole, yes, Parker. And before she gets a chance to introduce you all to her, let me just name some things that I just want to highlight. When you are working as a woman in this space, oftentimes the idea of mentorship doesn't necessarily come easy, right? Or maybe it doesn't look like you need it to be. But Dr. Parker specifically has put her imprint on me in so many ways. She's taken time to either talk me out of circles, listen to me bellow and cry my tears out when I didn't think I was adequate enough to do it. But also following her journey, it's been helpful for me as a scholar to look at my own story and see that there are parts in me that can also become great, like how I think she's great. So, to the Reverend Dr. Angela Parker, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much, Reverend Dr. Yamie, and I'm happy to be here and just to have this wonderful conversation with you. And you did not have to gas me up.
Got to. And hear me out, y'all, because me and Dr. Parker could probably go for miles. So yes. Y'all are not even going to get like the tip of the iceberg of this conversation. I hate it for you. But Dr. P, for the audience or for people who may not be familiar with us, with you, why don't you start by telling us what you do here at McAfee and lifting up some of the things that are important for people, you think that people should know about you in general.
Sure. So I serve as the Associate Professor of New Testament and Greek here at McAfee School of Theology. That means that I specialize in Womanist biblical interpretation. I teach classes that are called Foundations of New Testament. I teach Biblical Greek 1 and 2. I also teach Feminist, Womanist, Queer Hermeneutics of the Bible. And hermeneutics is simply interpretation, so a fancy word for interpretation. I teach the Bible and critical theories. So as we think about how critical race theory became the boogeyman, particularly on Fox News, I talk about how critical theory stems from philosophical thought, and then we got critical theory and how we get all the critical theories from feminist theory, queer theory, critical race theory, and how that actually developed into critical whiteness studies as well, and why all of that becomes important to understand where we are today. And then even how critical whiteness studies helps us begin to understand how whiteness actually impacted interpretation. And what white interpreters are doing now with their own identities and interrogating their own identities and realizing that they bring biases to their biblical interpretation today. Now, oftentimes, white folks have not had to interrogate their own identities prior to the times that we live in today, and it's still very difficult for them to do that. So for me, as a womanist New Testament scholar, to be able to allow students to begin to think about their own identity and what they bring to reading the New Testament. That's very important for all identities, but it's extremely important for white identifying students as well. I also serve as faculty advisor for different certificate programs, social transformation and what that looks like, because students have to realize that it's more than saving souls. We are supposed to be about transforming communities and bringing about hope and change in various communities as well. And if you're saving a soul without thinking about the entirety of a person, what good are you? I would argue. Yeah.
So you started preaching is what you're saying right now. we haven't even gotten to the nitty gritty and you've already started. No, I like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really just Jesus. If you read your text, I often have students say to me, you know, Dr. Parker, what did you do to my text? And I said, I didn't do anything to your text. I'm just having you read it.
Yeah, right.
Just reading it.
Imagine that, reading the Bible.
Reading the Bible. What a concept.
No, I love that.
So that's essentially what I do, and I've been able to do that here now for 7 years, and I've been enjoying it. It's been a journey.
Yeah,
it's been a journey here.
Yeah,
and it's particularly in the Bible Belt, where students often think they already know the Bible,
right,
and then they come to find out that they don't know it as well as they think they do.
You know what? Let's do that. Let's walk back a little bit and explore your journey, because you didn't start here, right? And I would name that you have had a unique or an untraditional entry into womanism. So take us back to the beginning. How did you, what brought you here? How did you begin? Where's the middle? And we'll talk about what you're working on at the end.
I sometimes like to tell students, don't let the youthful glow fool you. I'm grandmother, mother, second marriage.
Yeah.
College did not take immediately. And it took really not first, not second, not third, not fourth, but fifth time going to college for college to take.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why this is important, because there's somebody out here right now who is in between their minds about whether or not they should or they have the ability to go back to school, and they're looking at you and they're watching your TikToks like I do, and they're saying, I can never be like Dr. P. But you're telling me that it took you 5 tries to get into college, or for it to stick?
For it to stick, yeah.
Wow.
Think about it. 18, I flunked out. Flunked out beautifully, but horribly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, I was 2 months pregnant when I graduated high school.
Wow.
So I had my first child at 19, and then my second child came along at 21. So I got married right out of high school and tried to go to school even after getting married. And that did not work.
Yeah.
And then during that first marriage, tried to go back a few times. And oftentimes you hear during a tumultuous first marriage, why do you do things? You don't need that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You're wasting time.
Yeah.
And things like that get into your brain. And then finally, when you do get the capacity and the fortitude to actually leave and become a single parent and strike out on your own, you get the education to take care of your children. And that education for me was getting a paralegal certificate.
Oh, wow. So, I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that? I worked as a paralegal.
Girl. I'm sorry, not girl, but the Reverend Dr. Angela Parker. I did not know that. Really?
I worked as a paralegal for a number of years, and that's how I raised my children.
Wow.
Yes. So at first I thought that I would go back to school and become an attorney.
Yeah.
But working in law offices, I knew, well, first of all, I knew I was smarter than many of the lawyers that I worked for.
Hello.
And then I realized that I did not want to be a lawyer.
Same.
And so when my children were around, oh, goodness. My daughter had to have been around 11, and my son would have been around 9. I go back and start my associates.
Okay.
And about that time, it began to take.
Associates in what?
associates in liberal arts.
Okay.
Because I knew I was going to transfer to a 4-year degree.
Okay.
So I go and I'm taking an associate's degree at Wake Tech Community College. So I'm in community college. My children are young and, 11, 9. And I finally do get that associate's in liberal arts, and I'm able to transfer to Shaw University.
Wow.
And so I transfer to Shaw, and I get the 4-year degree at Shaw University.
In what?
In religion, psychology as a minor. So
Okay.
it's religion. My degree is in religion and philosophy, psychology minor. And then I'm going to apply to Shaw Divinity School to get a master's of divinity or a master of arts in, I think they had like Christian ministry or something. Or I applied to Duke Divinity School, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do an MDiv or an MTS, but I applied to Duke Divinity for the MTS. And in the midst of all this, first of all, you have to realize I said in my brain that I would never marry again.
Same.
But, of course, God laughs at you.
Always.
And in the midst of all this, I meet Victor, who's also an older adult who returned to Shaw to finish his degree. So that's how we meet as older adults returning to get our degrees.
I love that.
And that's when we start dating and we meet and marry during our time at Shaw.
Yeah.
And so I applied to Duke Divinity School. I get a scholarship, and I get my Master's of Theological Studies.
Wow.
And then at that time, you have to realize Duke Divinity School, and students often ask me, how did you like Duke? Duke is a big name school.
Tread lightly.
I don't have to tread lightly.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Because I already have the degree. They can't take it away.
You're right.
And a lot of the people who told me the horrible things have been deceased or are retired. Or I heard when I said that I wanted to do a PhD in New Testament particularly, they'd say things like, your people don't do well with languages.
Your people.
Yeah.
Don't tread lightly.
Your people can barely speak English. How do you think you're going to learn Greek and Hebrew and German and French? And do you think you're really going to get a job?
Oh, wow.
Bible is still that contested discipline.
Wow.
For Black scholars particularly, they will steer you to theology and ethics instead of Bible. Bible has power. And folks who control Bible and control interpretation can also control policy and what we're seeing in the world.
Wow.
So if you can produce powerful white male scholars who can uphold a Representative Mike Johnson and the policies that come through that control borders through biblical texts and can control bodies through biblical texts, that's what you would rather do. Instead of minoritized people who read biblical texts from a different lens and from the underside of society. So think about the pipeline.
I was just about to say
into biblical studies.
Oh my God, you're making such a wonderful kind of correlation between how you landed, especially in the work that you're doing here, because to hear that as a budding scholar, right? There's already so many insecurities around doing the work in general, right? So not to not receive adequate support in that area, I would argue there's this thing that in the Michael Jordan documentary, I think Saving the Last Dance, The Last Dance or something, where he talks about he would create narratives about people, and those narratives were what fueled him to take things personally so that he can aggressively pursue things. So he would end it by saying, I guess you can say I took it personally. I would argue, based off of how you've landed, I guess you could say you took it personally.
Yes. Well, I have stories. I'm thinking about every year our guild has the annual meeting, the Society of Biblical Literature. Yeah. That's the guild that we're a part of. So Dr. Dave Garber, of course, as a Hebrew Bible scholar, we both go to this annual meeting. And I always love to see my former professors, particularly at Duke Divinity, who would see me at the society. And I had one professor who, when he would see me, he'd be like,
not again.
Yeah. And I'd be like, la 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 la.
Is she still here? No. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. And not for nothing, Dr. P is always sharp. So she's going to come in some glitter. It's going to be a bright color. The hair is going to be big.
Yep.
The lip is going to be popping.
Exactly.
And you're going to know she was here.
And they would hate it. Because biblical scholars tend to be very introverted.
Yeah.
And very withdrawn. Yeah. And very gray.
Yeah.
Just not colorful at all.